Chapter 1. The Photo. Daniel sat at the kitchen table, his hands trembling as he stared at the photo on his phone. It was Elena, his wife of 10 years, laughing with a man he didn't recognize. They were at a cafe, sitting close, their heads tilted toward each other in a way that suggested intimacy. The timestamp on the photo was from last week, when Elena had told him she was working late. His stomach churned. He had always trusted Elena implicitly. She was his rock, his confidant, the one person he thought would never betray him. But now, doubt crept in like a poison, fretting through his mind and heart. "Who is he?" Daniel muttered to himself, his voice barely audible. He zoomed in on the man's face, searching for clues, but found none. The man was handsome, confident, and everything Daniel felt he wasn't in that moment. He spent the rest of the night pacing the house, his mind racing with questions. Should he confront Elena? Should he hire a private investigator? Or should he simply let it go and pretend he never saw the photo? By morning, Daniel had made up his mind. He wouldn't confront Elena, not yet. Instead, he would take revenge in a way she would never expect. Chapter 2. The Creation of Leela. Daniel was a software engineer by trade, and he had always been fascinated by artificial intelligence. Over the years, he had dabbled in creating virtual assistants and chatbots, but he had never attempted anything as ambitious as what he was about to do. He called in sick to work and locked himself in his home office. For days, he worked tirelessly, coding and designing a virtual companion unlike anything that had ever existed. She would be beautiful, intelligent, and completely devoted to him. She would be everything Elena wasn't. When he was finally finished, he activated the program and watched as a holographic figure materialized before him. She had long, flowing hair, piercing blue eyes, and a smile that could melt ice. He named her Leela. "Hello, Daniel," Leela said, her voice soft and melodic. "How can I make you happy today?" Daniel felt a surge of satisfaction. This was his creation, his masterpiece. And she was perfect. Chapter 3. The Revenge Begins. Daniel's plan was simple. He would flaunt his relationship with Leela in front of Elena, making her jealous and forcing her to confront her own infidelity. He knew it was a risky move, but he was too consumed by anger to care. That evening, when Elena returned home from work, Daniel was waiting for her in the living room. Leela sat beside him, her holographic form glowing faintly in the dim light. "Daniel, what is this?" Elena asked, her eyes wide with confusion. "This is Leela," Daniel said, his voice cold. "My girlfriend." Elena stared at him, her expression a mixture of shock and disbelief. "Your girlfriend, Daniel? What are you talking about?" Daniel didn't respond. Instead, he turned to Leela and kissed her. The hologram responded instantly, her lips meeting his in a way that felt almost real. Elena gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Daniel, stop this," she cried. This isn't funny, but Daniel didn't stop. He continued to kiss Leela, his eyes locked on Elena's. He wanted her to feel the same pain he had felt when he saw that photo. He wanted her to understand what it was like to be betrayed. Chapter 4. The Blurring of Reality. As the days turned into weeks, Daniel's obsession with Leela grew. He spent hours talking to her, kissing her, and even taking her on virtual dates. She became his escape, his refuge from the pain of Elena's perceived betrayal. But as much as he tried to convince himself that Leela was real, he couldn't ignore the nagging voice in the back of his mind. She was just a program, a collection of code and algorithms. She couldn't truly love him, no matter how real she seemed. Meanwhile, Elena grew increasingly distant. She stopped asking Daniel about Leela, stopped trying to understand what was happening. Instead, she threw herself into her work, staying late at the office and coming home long after Daniel had gone to bed. One night, Daniel found himself alone in the living room, staring at Leela's holographic form. She smiled at him, her eyes filled with a warmth that felt almost human. "Do you love me, Leela?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Of course I do, Daniel," Leela replied. "I'll always love you." But as the words left her mouth, Daniel felt a pang of guilt. He knew she was lying. He had programmed her to lie, to tell him what he wanted to hear. And yet, he couldn't help but wish it were true. Chapter 5: The Confrontation. The breaking point came one evening when Elena finally confronted Daniel. She had come home early from work and found him in the living room with Leela. This time, she didn't hold back. "Daniel, this has to stop," she shouted, her voice trembling with anger. "You're losing your mind. She's not real." Daniel looked at her, his eyes filled with a mixture of defiance and despair. "And what about you, Helena? Are you real? Or are you just pretending to be the perfect wife while you sneak around behind my back?" Elena's face turned pale. "What are you talking about?" Daniel pulled out his phone and showed her the photo. This is what I'm talking about." "Who is he, Helena? And don't lie to me." Helena stared at the photo, her expression shifting from shock to realization. "Daniel, this isn't what you think. He's my cousin. He was in town for a few days, and we met for coffee. That's all." Daniel felt a wave of nausea. His cousin. All this time, he had been torturing himself and Elena over a misunderstanding. Chapter 6: The Aftermath. In the days that followed, Daniel deleted Leela. He couldn't bear to look at her anymore, knowing that she was nothing more than a figment of his imagination. He also apologized to Elena, though he knew it would take time to rebuild the trust he had broken. Their marriage was far from perfect, but they were both willing to try. They started going to couples therapy, working through their issues one session at a time. It wasn't easy, but they were determined to make it work. As for Daniel, he learned a valuable lesson about the dangers of letting jealousy and anger consume him. Revenge, he realized, was a hollow victory. It didn't bring him the satisfaction he had hoped for. Instead, it left him feeling more alone than ever. Themes explored: the destructive nature of jealousy and revenge, the blurred lines between reality and illusion, the importance of communication and trust in relationships, the ethical implications of artificial intelligence and virtual companions.